Hi everyone, so today we're taking a look at the Shield Tablet by Nvidia. This is Nvidia's first foray into the tablet market, and they've decided to offer something for the gamers. So first off, let's take a look at the specs. This is an 8-inch tablet rocking a 1920 by 1200 display. It's LCD. Internally, the device is running the Nvidia Tegra K1 processor, a 2.2 GHz quad core GPU-CPU with 192 streaming cores for graphics. The device has Wi-Fi with 802.11a, B, G and N, and does support dual band routers. If you opt for the LTE 4G version of the tablet, then you can also install a SIM card as well. GPS is included, as are two cameras, a front-facing 5-megapixel camera and a rear-facing 5-megapixel camera. Interestingly, there is no NFC support on this tablet, although Nvidia have included a HDMI mini output, so you can connect this device directly to a television set. Alongside either 16 or 32 gig of internal storage is a micro SD trap that does allow you to expand the device's storage right the way up to 128 gig. Also, as part of the Nvidia Shield Tablet ecosystem is the Nvidia Shield controller and the Nvidia Shield case stand. Now, the Shield controller really does feel like an essential part of the Nvidia Shield offering. With the controller, you have the ability to not only play Android games, which either support a controller, or where you can use Nvidia Shield's own mapping software to map the on-screen buttons to the controller buttons. But you can also stream games directly from your living room or office PC directly down to the Shield tablet. Using the controller, you can play, using your Nvidia Shield tablet, all of your PC games quite literally like you were running it as a console. Think of this as the Steam box we've been waiting for, but using your computer upstairs to stream directly to your tablet, and if you want, plug the tablet into the television set and sit back for some living room gaming. The Nvidia Shield cover is very reminiscent of the Apple iPad cover, even down to the mag locks which connect the cover to the tablet. When you're not using the Nvidia Shield tablet, you can protect the front of it with the cover, and when you are using it, fold the cover back to prop the device up into a nice standing position, perfect for gaming. The Nvidia Shield tablet itself includes a digital stylus. This allows you to interact with the display using the included pen. It works remarkably well, and even though Nvidia are taking a slightly different approach technology-wise to those of the Note range from Samsung, it does work, and I love the way that they've angled the nib so you have both a very fine writing tip, but also a wider writing tip or drawing tip as well. The Nvidia Shield tablet hardware is very well designed. It looks kind of like an iPad mini crossed with a HTC One M8. Always finished in black. There are no other colour options, unfortunately. The device isn't overly heavy, and it doesn't have a top or bottom heaviness to it. It sits nicely in the hand. So let's go hands-on and take a good look at the physical hardware for the Nvidia Shield tablet. So here we are, hands-on with the Nvidia Shield tablet. Now, one of the first things you'll notice is it's very reminiscent of an Apple iPad mini, but with the kind of stylings of the HTC One M8. Now, this area here and here that you see that appears to be a speaker, I don't actually think it is. There's absolutely nothing, if you look within the holes, that suggests there's any actual speaker mechanics there. The actual speakers, I believe, are in the sides on this device. So effectively here and here. They're not actually directly opposite each other. One speaker is slightly higher to this side, and this side is sort of more towards the centre. Now, in part this is because of the camera module they've added just there. Now, the actual weight of the tablet is very, very good. It doesn't feel like it's overbalanced in any one corner, and there's certainly not an "this is too heavy to hold" or anything like that problem going on here. For the most part, the tablet is very, very good to hold in the hands, purely because of this quite nice rubberized back. It's kind of a polycarbonate feel. It doesn't feel necessarily like rubber, but it does have a slight texture to it that is almost thin rubber-esque. It feels really good in the hand, and it provides grip, quite a lot of grip. I would put it on the same kind of level as the Nexus 5 really, I think, there, for the way this back kind of feels. It doesn't feel like something like a Galaxy S5 or an S4, and it certainly doesn't have the very shiny, slippery back of the M8. It stays in the hand, and it does feel like it wants to stay there, not sliding through or anything like that. Again, if we attempt to do a balance test on this particular tablet, let's see if we can do this. Just change my hand. We should find that we can get a balance point out of it. Just about there, in fact. There we go. So as you can see, it does balance quite nicely without any major problems there. Obviously, big device, it is wobbling around a little tiny bit, but it is balanced, and the balance is towards the centre of the device, which is really good to see. Overall, I've really enjoyed using this device. It works beautifully when you're out and about, and it works beautifully when you're at home. It's never too heavy, and it's never throwaway light. It just feels great. Really, really great in the hand. And that's something that is a bit of a rarity in tablets, I think, where you end up with something that's either too top-heavy, too slippery, and so on. The hardware-wise, they've done a fantastic job here. There's only one small defect I found, which is if you press on one side a little bit too much, you actually get a popping sensation. There. You can probably just about hear that being picked up by the microphone. It's sort of just up on this one corner, just there in fact. You can just feel that the plastic has some give in it. Now, it's a little disappointing to see, but at the end of the day, that's the only physical hardware issue I've been able to find. It's just this slight clickiness within the casing, just on this one side every so often. But it's not a major issue, and it's not led to any wear or tear so far. Whether that is going to be a weak spot within the chassis, time will tell. Gaming is what the Nvidia Shield Tablet is all about. Not only does it offer a great tablet experience generally, but those additional gaming features really do make a big difference. The way the Nvidia Shield controller pairs with the tablet and allows for one-to-one fast interaction is spot on. There's no lag here like you would normally get from Bluetooth because it uses Wifi-direct. It talks directly to the tablet using Wi-Fi, and so the latency is eliminated. That weird laggy drag factor you get with a lot of Bluetooth controllers is gone. We can play quite easily Call of Duty Advanced Warfare streamed from a PC upstairs and hold our own quite easily in those multiplayer matches. Likewise, when we've been streaming games from Nvidia's Grid, even though we're based in the UK and we're streaming from the US servers, we found that the lag was reasonable. Obviously, when that launches in the UK, it's going to be even better. Gaming for Android with the Nvidia Shield Tablet controller works beautifully well as well. If a game supports controllers, then the Nvidia Shield will simply just work with it, but you get all of that fast responsiveness that we've come to like from this Wifi-direct implementation. For games that don't necessarily natively support a controller, you can map the on-screen controls directly onto the Nvidia Shield Tablet. Your mileage may vary, but we found it worked very, very well. Likewise, Nvidia is providing a free background download service as well, so that if a particular game has already been updated from Nvidia's side to have controller support within the Shield controller, it will download the profile and just work without you having to do any fiddling. These are great user experience features, and it shows Nvidia have really thought about this. Let's go hands-on with the Nvidia Shield controller now, and I'll take you through all of its key features. So here we are with the Nvidia Shield controller. Now the first thing you'll notice is it's incredibly large in comparison to, say, the PS4 controller or the Xbox One controller. It has more in common, I would say, with the original Xbox controller released many years ago. Now, it provides thumbsticks which are very reminiscent of the PlayStation 4 in direct alignment with each other. Likewise, Xbox style buttons here, X, A, B and Y, which obviously makes it useful and easy for pairing with PC games which tend to use the Xbox scheme. Likewise, there is a D-pad, your shoulder buttons and trigger. Now, interestingly, underneath, they've added a really nice groove, so your hands actually sit quite nicely and comfortably inside the groove, which actually makes this additional weight not quite so much of a problem. Interestingly, they've also added two volume buttons, volume rocker, volume up and down, and a touchpad as well. This touchpad allows you to move a mouse cursor online if you need to hit particular options on screen for your PC game, but also can actually make moving around some Android interfaces quite easy as well. We then have a back button, a start button, and a, well, let's call it the menu button, as it were. This one will effectively drop you out back into the Android menu. This one here will usually bring up the in-game menu, and this one here will back you out of a game, or if you long press, will bring up the sharing and recording menu. So let's simply turn it on by pressing this Nvidia touch button in the center there. And then what we'll do is we'll go and pair this up. So we go into Shield Controller, and it's actually already got this controller nice and connected, that's fine. So if we now come into the Shield Hub, we can see that we have full control over the interface, every part of it, and we can move around. And we can also, using the touchpad, bring up the touchpad controls as well. Now if I long press on here, it will bring up the recording menu, so I can very easily switch recording on if I want to, same again, and switch recording off, and I can just stop and share at that point as well. Now if we actually come into an Android game, let's bring one up, and actually I'm just going to use World of Tanks for this because it worked perfectly. So if we long press on this forward or start button, as it's more commonly known here, what we can do is we can bring up the overlay. Now this is available for all Android games. From the overlay, you're then able, if you want to download profiles for the controller. And this allows you to effectively play any game you like using the controller, because hopefully someone has put a profile together for you. All you need to do is download the profile and then the controller just works. Or likewise, you can customize any of the on-screen controls and map them directly to the buttons. Perfect, in my opinion, for getting, well, any game working with this controller. So let's just come back out. If we press the Nvidia button again, it is touch sensitive, so sometimes it needs a little extra press. Oop, actually it might be because I'm still in a menu. Hang on, let's just come out of that. There we go. Now if we say want to play a PC game, what we'll find is that everything has already been mapped across for us, and it's done via Nvidia's own software, so there shouldn't be any major problems there. So if we fire up Wolfenstein, and now I'm playing Wolfenstein, and I'm using the Nvidia Shield controller, and that's being relayed to the PC for all of the commands, and obviously it's sending me a game stream back, working absolutely beautifully. Played this for a couple of weeks. Beautiful, quick and easy, and all of that was done pretty much in the background by Nvidia's software. It knows that this is a controller, and it knows that it's going to be interacting with the PC, so it sends all of the necessary commands. Now the controller feels really good when you're actually using it. It doesn't feel overly heavy or anything like that, and the way they've actually contoured it actually does feel really nice in the hand. This isn't a particularly heavy controller. Woo! Obviously difficult to talk and fight at the same time, but it's not a particularly heavy controller, and even with the additional size of it, it actually does sit in the hand very, very well. It's not overly heavy, it's not overly light, and it doesn't have any kind of pinch points, I would call it, where it kind of feels like it's digging into your hand or anything like that. It's a very good design, I have to say. Nvidia have really pushed the boat out when it comes to cool software features, but these features don't really get in the way of your gaming, they enhance it. For instance, Nvidia has taken its shadow play technology and broadcasting technology and folded it directly into the Nvidia Shield Tablet. That allows you at any time to simply press a button or call up a menu on screen and start recording exactly what the tablet is seeing. That can be gameplay footage directly from the actual Android operating system, or it can be gameplay that is being streamed from another PC. That footage is then saved onto the tablet and can be shared immediately using the Android Share functionality. It's really, really slick, and it shows Nvidia have thought about, well, if we're going to build a gaming tablet, let's treat it like a gaming device. Let's give it all the same functionality we would a fully fledged PC, because it's got the horsepower to cope. Likewise, you can also stream directly to Twitch from the tablet itself. That's a phenomenal thing, including the microphone and the camera to use as effectively as a webcam, recreating the functionality you have if you were streaming from a desktop PC. It really is a watershed moment, and it's quite remarkable Nvidia have not only managed to pull this off, but have done it without compromising the underlying operating system or form of functionality of the tablet. It's all nice and transparent to your use of the device. For me, this shows the pedigree of Nvidia and how they've approached creating this device. It would have been very easy to simply say, we've created a new GPU, here's a few games you can use with it, crack on. But no, they've treated this like an ecosystem. They know that if you want to show off the power of this chip, you're going to have to put the groundwork in to creating the software that shows it off. The streaming technology, the recording technology, shows that this device has ample power. It can not only stream a game from your PC or play a game directly on the tablet at full speed and spec, but it can also record that information or broadcast it to Twitch without breaking a sweat. This shows a real amount of love from Nvidia to get this right. As I say, it would have been very easy for them to simply throw this together, shove it out onto the market, and worry about solving these problems later. They haven't. They've solved them in their first attempt. That is a remarkable thing. Software-wise, the Nvidia Shield Tablet comes with Android 4.4.2 out of the box, but waiting for us when we unpacked it was Android Lollipop, ready to be installed. We've done this review based on Android Lollipop, and it's very good to see that Nvidia have produced a good software suite and got their Lollipop update out very rapidly, including necessary updates to their own internal software. Let's go hands-on now and take a look at the Nvidia Shield Tablet software, including the features of Android Lollipop, as well as those that are specific to the Nvidia Shield Tablet. So, the Nvidia Shield Tablet is running Android 5 Lollipop. It came with Android 4.4.2 out of the box, but the update was also waiting for us to run, so we may as well review this using the latest software that you will all be using this Christmas. So the first thing really to mention is this is Android Lollipop, the new improved and updated version of Android. It does provide some new functionality and a new look and feel that's called Material Designs. You'll find this running not only through the operating system itself, but also through Google's apps and potentially third-party apps as well. Now, one of the things that Nvidia have done is updated some areas of the Android Lollipop operating system to include features of the Nvidia Shield. So for instance, under the notification shade, you'll also have the option for the Shield controller and the share functionality as well. You can also cast the screen if you have a Chromecast, so you can send this display directly to your television set. It is a little bit more laggy doing it like that. Certainly it's much better to use the HDMI output and use the cable to plug into the TV. But the Shield controller option here will bring up the Shield controller, but it will also show you the current battery level for the controller as well. The share options will bring up the share menu, which can also be accessed directly from the Nvidia Shield controller. From here you can stream to Twitch, record the last 5 minutes, or just set a manual record to keep recording. You can also turn your microphone on, your webcam on, and the chat option. And there's also some settings here as well, which are useful for tweaking how you're going to be streaming to Twitch. Within the notification shade is also the option for the auto rotate and full screen. Full screen keeps the on-screen controls in place. When you go onto full screen mode, it will remove them, and instead you can swipe up to get them back. For my mind, it is better to have that kind of full immersion going on, especially when you happen to be playing games. You also have the option to create additional users as well, either guests or fully fledged accounts. All of this is handled within the Android operating system itself. Now, if we come into the actual settings area, this is an area that has taken quite a new look and feel from previous versions of Android. Gone is the kind of black and grey, now it's white and, well, a kind of turquoisey colour for the icons. Now, things are pretty much the muchness in here, other than the items that Nvidia have added themselves. But let's first have a look at the top row, which is our networking options. So we have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, data usage, and under More, we have access to aeroplane mode, setting our default SMS app if you happen to be using an LTE version of the tablet. You've also got the options for tethering hotspot, VPN, mobile networks, and mobile plan. Now, what's missing from here, interestingly, is NFC support. The tablet doesn't have NFC support, and so we have no option for it. When we come into the device area, this is where Nvidia have added a few of their own bits and pieces. We've got some controller options in here. So for connecting the controller, enabling auto download, and enabling the gamepad mapper. You can also set how a virtual mouse is going to be treated as well. Display is fairly standard stuff. This is where you'll find your brightness levels, your color correction, and what will happen when the screen rotates, as well as how long the screen will stay on for. Direct Stylus is for our stylus option, which we'll go through from a software point of view in a moment. But in here, you can set how that stylus is going to interact with the device, how long a finger will stay on the screen before registering a tap, for instance, and whether it's a lefty or not. You can also set handwriting recognition on as well when it's removed, and also set an action when you pull out the stylus for what it should actually do. In this case, opens the Direct Stylus launcher, which is the default. We also have options for HDMI as well, so if you plug in the HDMI cable and then connect it to a TV, what will the tablet do? Well, in this case, it will prompt to switch to the HDMI mode when it's connected, and this is basically mirror mode or TV mode. And you can also set it for 4K as well, and there's some colour correction options there also. Sound and notifications, storage, battery and apps and users are very similar to what we've had before, so we'll just quickly go through those. This is where you're going to be able to, set your media volume as well as ringtones and notifications, and set what those sounds are going to be as well. In storage, you can see what is using space currently, so from apps through to pictures, downloads and cache data. If you come onto these options, you can usually get more information. Whoops, it's still calculating, there we go. And from here, if you want to, you can uninstall apps as well. Battery usage is actually pretty good with this tablet, we've found. On average, you get around 8 hours of standard usage, so a bit of Wi-Fi, bit of browsing, bit of gaming, a little bit of everything really, bit of media playback. For heavy gaming, you're looking at a battery that will last you around 2 to 3 hours. Now that's on par when you think about it for most portable gaming systems. You're running the system at maximum power levels, and you are going to find that the battery will drain quite quickly, as with any games. Now, obviously, the higher the brightness of the screen, the faster that battery is going to drain as well. Just things to be aware of. We go into apps, we can see the individual apps running list. You'll have seen this access just now from the storage area. From there, we can uninstall apps and so on. Within users, we have the ability to set up new users, guests, and so on. When we come down to personal, things have stayed pretty similar here. We've got our location controls, which show us what apps are trying to access location information, and we can set how the battery saving should operate there, as to whether it should use GPS, assisted Wi-Fi location, or simply nothing at all. Security, as you might expect, this is where we can set up security for our device, everything from PIN unlocks to passcodes and so on. Be aware, encrypting your tablet is now an option, as it always has been in fact, but under Lollipop it has supposedly been improved. However, when we've looked at encryption on this device, we found that it really slows down the internal storage. It is not worth using, in my opinion, in its current state. Accounts is where you can set up the accounts for all of your various apps and tie them to a user. Language and input is where we have, well, funnily enough, language and input. So everything to do with the language the device is going to be using, your spell checker, and the keyboards as well. You can also set your voice input and in there also, and game controller is another option in there. Backup and reset is where you can set how you will back up your device to Google's cloud for later restoring if you need to do a reset. The option also is in there to completely wipe the device and start again, take it back to factory settings basically, although that will, if you've upgraded to Lollipop, only take you back to Lollipop when it was first installed. It won't take you back to previous versions of Android. Everything here is very, very obvious. So these are just setting up, as you might expect, the date and time, your accessibility settings, printing, and if you're a developer, being able to turn on and tweak some of the background stuff that Android Lollipop can do. Now, when we actually come into the software itself within the Nvidia Shield, what we find is that Nvidia have kind of left the majority of the operating system alone, other than adding functionality for their controller and the stylus. When it comes to bunging apps into the operating system, they've kind of kept it just to what was necessary. So we have the Nvidia Shield Hub, and this is where all of our games are available, both on PCs, on the grid, Nvidia's game streaming service, and within the actual Android operating system itself, so your Android games. Everything being brought together in one single place is fantastic, and again, when you're using the controller, it makes it feel like a very nicely integrated package, kind of like having your very own Xbox Live or PlayStation Network store kind of integrated fully, because you also have the shop option as well there. When we come into the Dabbler, which is Nvidia's Dibber, this allows us to draw on the screen, as you'll have already seen in some footage. It works very, very well. The clever thing with this is it uses the GPU performance power to do some clever effects here, where it's actually mathematically interpreting how much absorbency there should be from the paper relative to the ink and the amount of pressure that's being applied. And as you can see, it generates a bleed effect, just like you would have from, well, real paper, real paint. It's really, really clever, and as far as I'm aware, it's something fairly unique to the Nvidia Shield Tablet. As I say, the Nvidia Shield Tablet hasn't been bloated out with large amounts of unnecessary software. Everything that's here feels necessary and actually feels very well done. The integrations directly into the operating system have been well handled. They aren't fudged in any way, shape or form. It all just works, and I think that's quite a remarkable thing to be able to say for any device these days, especially for a tablet coming from a manufacturer who is not known for tablets. This is their first one. It shows they've put the work in and the effort to creating a software suite that is complementary to Android without getting in the way. It adds functionality and makes sure that all of Nvidia's features work as advertised, but without dragging the system performance down. You can really feel the performance of the Nvidia Shield Tablet. In every benchmark it is setting records, and you can really feel it within the games themselves when you're playing them. They feel so fast and fluid with no stalling or stuttering or hiccups whatsoever. It really is a remarkable achievement. At times it actually feels like you're playing on a fully fledged console, running at 60 frames a second locked. It's absolutely remarkable, and in some cases with texture quality that is higher resolution than even the PlayStation 3 can put out. We found only one bottleneck with the Nvidia Shield Tablet's performance, and that comes down to the storage controller. Unfortunately, if that storage controller is being written to or read from, the system performance does tend to feel like it's taking a bit of a dip. Now, in part this might be a Lollipop issue, but I have a suspicion that a slightly lower powered controller has been used here. It doesn't have as much performance necessarily as some other devices. With that said, this is a fairly minor issue. It only raises its head when you happen to be downloading files. So for instance, if I was downloading an app which was, say, 1 gig from the Play Store, and at the same time I was trying to play a fairly intensive game or load a fairly intensive game or a video, what you'll find is the system will just stall out for a little while effectively all of that information is downloaded to the internal memory, or the information has been loaded from the internal memory. For all intents and purposes, only one thing can happen with the storage at any one time. 2 or more things attempt to hit the storage, then you do get this bottleneck. At no point have I really felt to myself that it was anything more than standard stuff for Android. We see this time and time again with devices, and it's actually no worse here than we've encountered on things like the Galaxy S4, S5, or even the HTC One M8. Wi-Fi performance is exemplary here, as it would need to be if it's going to be streaming games across your local network. The dual band, or 5G support as it's sometimes known, works very, very well here, even with the Lollipop bug which limits the number of channels available. We found there to be no performance problems with the Wi-Fi whatsoever, which is something we couldn't really say with the Nexus 5 when it was released, which did feel like it had very spotty Wi-Fi, unfortunately. The Nvidia Shield Tablet hardware and software works together very well, and it doesn't create any unnatural bottlenecks that should be concerned about. We've come away impressed with the Nvidia Shield Tablet. It provides a great balance of hardware at a great price and software that works competently. Everything Nvidia have provided with this package just works and works well. Probably the greatest compliment we can actually give to any hardware or software these days, that everything has been tested and it just works, exactly as we would expect it to. There is a slight question mark over the storage controller they've chosen, and whether a Lollipop is having undue impact there when you're accessing the storage by downloading at the same time as trying to play a game, for instance. Overall, this is the best tablet at 8 inches on the market, and if you happen to be a gamer, then this actually is the best tablet on the market, full stop. If you have a high-performance PC running an Nvidia graphics card, you want to own this tablet. It's as simple as that. If you're interested in gaming generally, even if you don't have an Nvidia graphics card powered PC, you'll find the Android gameplay here is exceptional with that Wifi-direct enabled controller. Everything works beautifully, and the price to performance ratio is absolutely spot on. Congratulations to Nvidia for creating, in my opinion, the best tablet of the year, bar none. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, you can pledge $1 a month on Patreon to help support the Androidizen, keeping us 100% independent, an honest opinion direct from the UK. If you pledge $1 a month, you'll be entered into our prize pool to win cool items from our review bag. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. We love to chat.